Good morning, beautiful challenge participants. I was very happy. I just took a peek and saw that 30 people watched the replay
Oh,
yesterday.
wow.
So even though we are a small community live because the timing and all this stuff, I know that you guys are out there and you're watching. So I'm super excited about that. And again, want to reiterate, like watching the replay, I don't want you to feel like you can't participate. So make sure I did get some great comments and feedback, some questions. So make sure you are interacting with us, even though, you may not be here in person. We can still kind of interact with you. Questions that come up for you, give them to us so that we can address them and just be kind of, in community with each other, even though, you may be watching it at some different time. So I'm super excited to be here. Day two. Day two is my favorite topic. It's all about, going to be discovering why maybe you have been trying so hard in the past with all kinds of different things. Some of them, things that could have been effective, but why you've been working hard and just not getting the results that you want. And it has to do with your nervous system. So I'm super excited to share that with you. Showing up on this second day is not a small thing. I can't tell you how much research is put into, understanding human behavior and how we show up for things like this. And, time and again, it just shows how kind of sometimes we're a little bit resistant to change. And, first day, people tend to dive in and really get a lot out of stuff. And then as the week goes on, we kind of fall off a little bit. And largely that's just a function of, the thought patterns that we have, the old beliefs around, oh, this isn't going to work anyway, or I'm too busy, or whatever it is that the brain kind of, throws out there to make us think that maybe we can't achieve what we want to achieve. So congratulations. I'm super excited that you're here again today. And I just want to say that if you weren't here, if you haven't watched the video from yesterday, that's okay. Stay here and go ahead and watch, but you do want to go back and watch that first video. There's a lot of great information. It does build from day to day to some degree, but not to the extent that you need to, shut off here or get off here to do that. And yesterday I shared again who I am. Why would you listen to me? And I'm somebody who had my own 30 plus year struggle with all of these issues. Everything that I talk about and everything that you've ever possibly done with food, I've done that. So I know exactly what you're coming from, exactly what you're feeling, exactly what you're talking about. I educated myself, got certifications and really dove into the areas of neuroscience, psychology, spirituality, the biology of trauma, behavior change, somatic experiencing, all those pieces. And I bring them together in my Freedom Program in order to help women overcome challenges with food, whether that is emotional eating, binge eating, overeating, chronic dieting, kind of that, whatever kind of relationship that doesn't feel good with food, right? So that's a little bit, I go into a little bit more in yesterday's video. And what we are doing in this challenge is kind of doing a bird's eye view, right? We're up here, we're looking at the whole layout of what it looks like to overcome these challenges that you may have had, like myself, for decades, and really getting a clear picture of what the whole layout is. And then we're trying to dive into some of the most important areas to some degree so that you can see that there are real solutions and that it is possible for you. So what I'm sharing with you is a lot of information and background. So I know that you may want to watch, videos again, take some notes, really, absorb, take time to absorb all that I'm sharing because it is a lot. But I'm also giving you something that you can take with you and integrate into your life, because that's how we make change. Sometimes we think we hear the information, it resonates with us, we understand it, we can see ourselves in it. But then we stop there and then we wonder why did that, I attended that challenge. Why didn't it change anything for me? And that's where the work comes in, right? That's where the integration of this information into your own life comes in. And so I'm going to be giving you something. We've got another. Yeah, so every day I'm going to be giving you something that you can take away and really hopefully start to feel those shifts from the integration work that you do. Hello, beautiful Vanessa. So good to have you here. I love it very much. Yay. Awesome. Awesome to have you here. And perfect timing. We're just getting started. I was just laying down some background on yesterday. So hopefully you've had a chance to watch yesterday or will have a chance soon, but I'm glad you're here. And today, as I was saying, is my favorite topic because it's so impactful and it's a piece that most people haven't really tried in conjunction with the other things that they've been trying. And when they do, they have results that are so much more rewarding. So it's, your nervous system. I call it my secret weapon because it's that thing that allows you to do the work, to show up and have the energy, the capacity to do the work, and for the work to actually produce the changes in your life. So I want to just start by kind of explaining kind of a little bit of background on what I mean. So if we think of your nervous system and the state that it's in, if we think of that as a spectrum, and Anna knows I say this, I use this example all the time, but it's a spectrum, right? And here in this middle space is this beautiful space of being calm and alive, both, right? So in that state, we're conscious, we're very connected with what's going on in our environment, in ourselves, but we don't feel overwhelmed by that. We feel, oh yeah, I've got this, what's happening. This is wonderful. Maybe you can relate to that, being outside and going for a walk on a beautiful day or something, you're calm, you're not stressed about anything, but you're also really truly alive. And I'll just mention that term calm aliveness is, I first came across it from an incredibly brilliant Dr. Amy Appigen, who has I've been trained by in a lot of respects with the nervous system, the biology of trauma and all of that. So Dr. Amy calls this the calm aliveness, and it's the perfect term for it because that's, the place where we are fully present, but also feeling very calm about that, and so that is kind of our ideal place, right? And most of us live in survival mode, which is either to the left over here on the spectrum, and that is like freeze. I'm overwhelmed. I'm just kind of shut down and disconnected. Or I'm over here on the spectrum and I'm feeling kind of, that frantic fight or flight, panic, kind of, really reactionary, I'm not really conscious of what I'm doing. I'm just like putting out fires and just getting through, and kind of more of a frantic kind of pace. So both of these on either end of the spectrum, and again, it's like, there's a spectrum of being in that fight or flight. There's a spectrum of being in the overwhelm or freeze. But when I'm there, I refer to this as survival mode. Regardless of which side you're on, that's not your place of calm aliveness, okay? So this is really important because most of us, especially those of us that are challenged with, any kind of, addictions or behavior that we don't want to be doing, but continually find ourselves doing anyway, a large part of that is because we are living in this survival system, or survival state. And it makes it really hard to be present and do the things and act in the ways that feel aligned with us. And, to some degree, we may vacillate between the two. So I want to really help you understand why it's really important for the work that you showed up here to do, that you are in that more optimal zone, that calm aliveness. Why is that so important? But first I want to talk a little bit about how did I get to the point where I live a lot of my time in survival state? Like, what's going on there? Why is that happening to me? And really, I want to start with some general information about the nervous system in order to help you understand the answer to that question. So another word for nervous system or for trauma is nervous system overwhelm. Okay, so I use nervous system overwhelm and trauma pretty much interchangeably. But the reason why I like nervous system overwhelm a little bit better is because all of us have learned, right, that trauma, we've learned the definition of trauma is like this incredibly, eventful experience that was just super, super charged, that was very difficult. Maybe that's, being a witness or a victim of abuse, living in a war zone, living through natural disaster, these kinds of big events, right? That's what we associate with trauma. But actually, trauma is anything that overwhelms the nervous system of the individual. So that could be getting your tonsils out. That could be being bullied on the bus. That can be just having a caregiver who's distracted by their own struggles in life. There's so many things that could fall under this, and it's different for different people. And it's also cumulative. So if I'm having experiences and I don't have the resources, whether that's the support or the tools or whatever it is that I need to process events in my life, they kind of stay stuck, and then they build on one another until the point where I reach a level where it overwhelms me. So it doesn't have to be a particular event. It can be just a series of kind of regular, normal life experiences. But for me, they reached a point where it was more than my nervous system could handle. And that is trauma. Psychology Today recently published an article that said 90% of Americans, and that is probably lean based on how they figure it out, 90% of us have experienced at least one traumatic event. So we're talking about everybody, right? And so this is not something that is limited to victims or soldiers or anything else. This is happening for all of us on a regular basis. And of course, it's, different. I'm not saying that, I experienced the same thing, or my struggles were the same as the soldier who, I'm not saying that. None of that matters. What matters is we can look at our own selves and understand that our nervous system, there may have come a time or many times where what was going on in life just felt like too much. And our brilliant nervous system helped us and protected us by shutting us down or making us, giving us that energy that we needed to be able to, fight or run away. And when we live in those states, that survival state for, longer and longer periods of time, there is long-term changes to our nervous system that happen. Right. And that's what I mean when I say most of us spend a lot of time in that survival state. So why is that important? Right. That's it's very, very, very important. And it's important not only for this work. I'm going to talk to you mostly about why it's important to your journey to overcome your challenges with food, but this applies to every single thing in your life. This work is not limited to food challenges, obviously. So yes, be thinking about it with respect to, the way I show up with food, but also the way you show up in life. And that's why this work is so amazing and so powerful, because it does change your relationship with food. It changes how you behave and allows you to reach your health and wellness goals. But that's like one little layer of the cake here. We're talking about, change being possible in every area of your life. So let me talk then about I could go on for days and days about how your body and mind are affected by nervous system overwhelm. But I really want to kind of, rein myself in, because I literally will go on for days. But it's just every single aspect of your life is affected. So, your health is greatly affected by the state of your nervous system, by stress, right? We know that. That's not something new. Your motivation, your ability to be connected and authentic with yourself. It affects your relationships, your ability to concentrate, your memory, your ability to learn and work and focus, to make conscious choice. And really, something really important that we don't really focus on is it affects your ability to create new neural pathways in your brain. So, i.e., it affects your ability to change. So this is like so important that I want you to understand, because if you've been working to change and you've been doing all the things right, let's just imagine for a minute, somebody had this brilliant, ability to see exactly what each one of us needed in order to overcome our challenge with food. Do these 5 things. If your nervous system is in survival, either overwhelm or kind of that fight or flight, you won't, even if you do them, you won't change. You won't form the new neural pathways. You won't be able to create that change in your life. So many people have been out there, trying and doing all of these incredible things and all this work. And they feel like, I've been at this for 10 years and nothing is changing. And for so many of them, the root of why there's nothing happening is their nervous system. Everything stems from that. So let me just go in a little bit so that you have a better idea of what I'm talking about and how you individually are affected. You don't have to notice all of these things. It doesn't matter. You probably will have some level of them. Maybe a couple are more noticeable for you than others, but some of the things that tell us that, or the effects, right, of experiencing this nervous system overwhelm are disconnection with self. Because in response to the overwhelm, the event or the series of events, right, we want to find a way to cope with the unpleasant feelings that may be present at the time and also that may persist afterwards. And so in order to do that, we shut down certain brain areas that are responsible, that transmit those uncomfortable feelings. And that's like, what a great idea, right? We can just kind of shut those down. We don't have to experience them. But the problem is that those brain areas are responsible also for registering the emotions and the sensations that make us who we are. So we shut down some things in order to avoid some really uncomfortable or even terrifying sensations. But at the same time, that can deaden our capacity to feel a lot of the other emotions and feel fully alive, right? So I talk about that place of calm aliveness. If we are shutting down in order to block out and not experience certain things, we're shutting down to many, many things. Not just, we can't just take, I only want to take this one little memory or this one and shut it away but still live fully connected and alive, right? We need to bring that back into our awareness, into our existence, in order to be, a whole person who has the full range of and full access to who we really are. The second effect is that it makes this system overwhelm. It makes it very difficult to regulate our emotions and to tolerate them. So you may find situations where, say, your reaction to something just doesn't fit the situation. Maybe you get really an overwhelmed feeling, like somebody will say, gosh, my husband fixed the dish that was in the dishwasher and said, that it would get clean better. And I was like, oh my God, it was, a big deal. And they felt angry about it. Or anger may come up with respect to things that you would think later, like, why would that make me angry? Or something make you really sad or fearful or overwhelmed. Like, oh, my child left their lunch here and now I have to drive to school. It's 10 minutes away or whatever. And you look at it later and you think, why is that such a big deal? But in the moment, it's like, oh my God, the lunch is here and I have to take it and my whole day is, and it's just like a really big event. And that is a sign very often that we're living in that survival place. And, we don't regulate, our emotions feel really big and we can't tolerate that space of discomfort in the same way. And this is especially true with those uncomfortable feelings like anger, anxiety, sadness, shame. Those are all very hard to be with and sit with if our nervous system is already in a place of of survival. And that's, largely why we want to escape to something, and that may be, alcohol, nicotine, food, shopping, drugs, sex, gambling, work, all of these kinds of things. And that's why, more addictive behavior, or, we could say habits that we don't like, why they're so common with people who've experienced this, either trauma or just nervous system overwhelm. It's the research is incredible around, the percentage of people with these kinds of challenges who have also experienced these difficult challenges in their life. The third thing I want to point out is that when your nervous system spends a lot of its time in survival mode, there's little or no time spent in rest and digest, in that calm, alive space. And this is where we heal, where we regenerate. And so, nervous system overwhelm creates a lot of chronic disease and other health concerns in our society. So work is important for your health. As much as it is for your ability to change and be and act like the person that you know yourself to be. The fourth thing is that, you're kind of stuck in high alert. When you're living in that survival state, the definition of living in that survival state is that you feel on high alert. Overwhelming experiences, cause you to be hyper vigilant in life as you go forward, in a way that you wouldn't be otherwise. You need to be on the lookout. You need to be, listening. And maybe you notice that, like, you're startled easily, or, your brain immediately tells you all the things that could be dangerous about a situation. You're just really vigilant. And the fifth thing I'll say is that the structures of people, the brain structures of people living in overwhelm, are different in ways that bring challenges in, you may have challenges in your judgment, your impulse control, and other higher brain functions. So I'll talk a little bit more about that, because that one is really important for us here as we discuss overcoming our challenges with food. The sixth thing I'll say is that having a nervous system that's on high alert, it's the same thing. And I really want you to understand that when you're in that state of survival, high alert, you're making your decisions from your survival system, or your limbic brain. You may have heard it referred to as your lizard brain or your primitive brain. And that means that you are, you're worried about the next 2 minutes only. You just want to survive the next 2 minutes. That's what it means to be driven by your primitive or your limbic system. So think about that, because, it's your active frontal lobes that's not available to you when you're living in survival, right? So looking at the kind of the functions of these two parts of our brain, the primal limbic system is just there to help you escape or fight, right? To get you out of this dangerous situation. And when I say dangerous situation, that could be an inbox, a full inbox of emails, or a feeling of loneliness, or a feeling of, insecurity. That's danger to your nervous system, right? And when you feel in danger, you just want to get yourself out of that moment as quickly as you can. You can't really brainstorm, what's the best, move for me here? How am I going to feel about my actions in 10 minutes? What are my options, and things like that? Your limbic system doesn't operate that way, because if it did, we would be dead, right? Because when your limbic system is kicked up, it means there's a danger and you need to act quick. That explains our lack of impulse control in those moments when we're operating from our limbic system. Like, we don't have the ability to say to myself, "Ooh, I really feel like XYZ snack." We don't have the ability in those moments, if we're operating from our primitive brain, to say, would that serve me? Do I really want that? Is that something I'm going to feel good about in 10 minutes? None of that is present, because the connection with your prefrontal cortex, which has the ability to ask those questions, is not there in those moments. All right. So the things that allow you to stand in those moments when you're feeling triggered and say, "Oh, this task is getting boring," or whatever, I'm going to go and have a snack to make it a little bit better. right? It's your higher brain that can say in those moments, does that really feel good? I've done that in the past and it's always left me with regret after 10 minutes. Maybe what I really need is, a few minutes of fresh air, or to reach out to somebody that I love, or, whatever it is that feels right to you in the moment, or take a break or whatever. That's not a conversation that happens when you're when you're operating from your limbic brain. So I know I'm talking fast. I'm getting really excited about all of this and about getting it to you. So I just want to pause for a second. I want to ask you if all of this is making sense. If you can see the kind of how you operate, and when you're in that space of calm aliveness, and when you're operating in your survival mode. Is this making sense? And everybody kind of clear on what's going on? You can certainly unmute yourself and just let me know, or you can use the chat if that's better for you. But I'm just curious if I'm making sense.
It does make a lot of sense. And I can think of times when I have reacted that way, with not really thinking. And I've always wondered why. It's almost like I eat automatically with no idea whatsoever, no plan. It just happens. And it makes sense. I need to have a mute button for my brain, I guess. I don't know.
Well, actually, you wanna unmute, right?
Oh,
Because
okay.
your brain is muted in that sense, because you're only operating from that survival system, as opposed to true Nancy. True Nancy, your prefrontal cortex, that's your evolved self. That's your self that you are right now. If I walked up to you right now and said, hey, Nancy, you want a dozen donuts? You'd be like, no, no, I'm listening, I'm engaged. Like, you're calm and peaceful right now. So you don't need that, right? Yeah. Vanessa says it's making a lot of big sense, helps understand so much of what's going on with me. Yeah, it is the nervous system. And that's why, when we do this work and we get our nervous system operating in that place, not all the time. It's not a perfection thing where, we're going to live our lives 100% in that calm, alive state where we can have that conversation and really make a conscious choice that's not on autopilot, like Nancy was saying. But how do we, get to know that space better, and then spend more and more of our lives in that connected space? And the beautiful thing, the thing I love the most, is people always come to me and say, how do I learn to control myself in that moment? Right? In that moment when I get that urge and I'm just like, grabbing whatever, how do I prevent myself or control myself? And the answer is not to learn to control yourself. When you work on the nervous system and the other tools too, I don't mean to say that this is the only work, but it is the crucial foundational piece, because when you have that, then you can you don't find yourself in that situation as much. You show up with yourself, and when that thought comes, oh gosh, I feel triggered, I know my brain says that I need to have a donut right now because that helps me. You can be there in that moment and ask yourself. It's not a matter of no, you don't, you can't do that. How do I distract myself? How do I whatever and put up a fight? It's how do I gently and compassionately figure out what I'm actually needing and provide it? Like, when you have access to your evolved self, that self knows and can be there and provide it. And that's such a better scenario than saying, shut up, no, you don't need that right now. This isn't what we're supposed to be doing, because that's never going to work. You've tried that method in the past, right? We all have. That's that willpower that might work here and there once in a while. It's never going to work sustainably for anybody. So it doesn't make any sense to put effort there. That's the wheel that we've all been on for so long. So we need to get off that wheel. We need to take care of our nervous system so that we can show up for the kind of work that we're going to be talking about in the next couple of days. So let me just really, really briefly, okay, I've given a lot of information. Let me just really narrow it down to these 4 points that I really want you to understand. Here's how your nervous system affects just your relationship with food. Okay. If your nervous system has experienced this overwhelm, whether it was what we might consider, traditional kind of trauma, or whether it was just, those overwhelming events that accumulate over the course of our life, right? You're going to be triggered a lot more often than somebody whose nervous system is not in that state. Okay. So you're just going to be in situations. You're going to feel like you need food or something else to help you cope with life much more often than if you had not experienced those different events. All right. Number 2, you're going to have a hard time with impulse control. Right. And I explained the reason for that is your survival system says, don't think about it. Just do it. We need to do this right now. If you think about it, we could be dead. Right. So impulse control is very, very difficult for, if at all, I don't even think it's possible for your limbic system. Right. We have a harder time regulating our emotions, right? And that's so tied because we feel shame, we feel anger, we feel overwhelm and stress and insecurities, and we can't handle that. We can't stand in that space and feel those emotions if our nervous system is in survival. And finally, we can't self-soothe, right? We don't know how to self-soothe in those situations when our nervous system is in that place. We don't know what to do for ourselves. We don't have those creative ideas that say, oh, what I really need is to take a break and go outside. And, how do I meet my needs? We don't know when we're in that space. So we just do the best we can. The brain has learned, like we talked about yesterday, the brain learned, hey, this food thing works. Okay. Don't think about, is there another option? Who cares? This food thing works. Let's do it. And because it has such a short term, frame of reference, it's like, I don't care about 10 minutes from now. I got to get you out of this situation right now, and it's a protective thing. The brain is not doing anything bad. It's not trying to harm you. It's not trying to sabotage you. It's literally trying to protect you in those 2 minutes. And so, on some level, we can say, thank you, brain, for being, protective and caring about me. Not that we want to continue to do that, and we don't need to, but it's not malicious in any way. So, we find ourselves in these triggered situations more often, causes us to turn to food, and we don't know how to get ourselves back to that place of calm aliveness without using the food, right? Because we've done it so many times. So let's see. Yeah. And I already covered the fact that, it's your higher brain, right? The brain that you have access to when you're in that space of calm aliveness that can allow you to make a different choice. When you're reaching for the chips or you've got your hand on the ice cream scoop, in that moment, it's your higher brain that can say, how am I going to feel about this? I already had, this and this today. Does my body really want this much sugar? And that's all a conversation and a function of your higher brain. So if we can get you back in contact with your higher brain knows what to do. You don't need tricks. You don't need anything else. All you need to do is tap into your own incredible strength and wisdom. And that happens when your nervous system is in that incredible place of calm aliveness. So I just want to kind of relate to, I'm talking about this again, it's not the end all be all. It's not the only piece that's involved here, right? I've talked about, the 5 pillars that I have for effective and permanent weight loss, developing that nourishing relationship with food. And those are self-acceptance and compassion for where you are today, even while you work towards the changes that you want. Number 2 is habit, and looking at your behavior and capitalizing on all the incredible information that we have about how our brains will allow us to break habits and build habits that support us. So it's habit work. It's number 3. The third pillar is thoughts, right? Because your thoughts create your emotions, which then lead to your behavior. So if we are having the thoughts that align with the behavior that we want, we're not using willpower to do that behavior. We're just doing what naturally stems from our thoughts. So we want to do some work to align our thoughts with the kind of behavior that we want. If your thought is, I can't lose weight, I'm just heavy, this is just who I am, it's not possible for me. If that's your thinking, your behavior is going to fall in alignment with that. You're going to act as somebody who, it doesn't matter what you do, I'm going to be heavy anyway. So you're going to make choices. You're not going to move your body. You're going to choose the chips over the, whatever is a healthy option for you and helps your body. And so we want to put some focused attention in pillar number 3 on aligning your thoughts with the actions that you want. I am somebody, I didn't have the right tools in the past. That's why I've had this struggle for a long time, not because it's not possible for me, but I can learn the new tools. Lori's told me there are these steps, and people have, dozens of people have, gone this route and have done these changes. I can too, now that I have the right tools. That's the kind of thinking that helps you stand in those moments and make the choices. Pillar number 4 is learning emotional resiliency. Being able to stand there in the moment when you're feeling sad or lonely or bored or overwhelmed or, that stress or shame or whatever it is, and having different tools and being able to use them. It's not necessarily about standing there and just letting yourself feel that way, but there are many, many tools that we can use that are more effective than food and that don't leave us feeling, bad or guilty or lead to the health consequences and things. So it's about learning how to stand in those moments with our emotions, allow them in, process them, and not need food to cope with life. And the 5th pillar is determining the best nutrition to support your body and allow you to return to your natural weight that your body likes to be at. Part of this is learning to trust your body. Your body does not want to be overweight. And so often we think to ourselves, oh, if I trust my body, then I'm going to, be eating donuts or cake all the time or whatever, because that's what my body wants. But that's not what your body wants. When you really learn to tap into the wisdom of your body is brilliant and will always lead you in the direction of your ultimate health. It's just a matter of building that trust and opening that door of communication, which is something that we definitely do work on. So these are the 5 pillars. So those 5 pillars have to take place. We have to have these elements if we want effective, long-term, permanent changes in our relationship with food. That will also, of course, lead to weight loss. But what I'm saying today is that if I gave you those 5 pillars, but didn't teach you about the nervous system, most of you would not be successful, because we can't do these things. We can't redirect our thoughts and create new neural pathways. We can't create the new neural pathways and develop new habits. We can't stand. Can you imagine if a tiger was chasing you, being able to stand in difficult emotions? That's what having a nervous system that is so activated and living in survival. You can't be in that space of survival and allow those heavy duty emotions that feel overwhelming. That's not consistent, right? You have to be in your place of calm aliveness in order to be able to sit in a moment of shame and use another tool. Otherwise, your survival system is going to say, another tool? What are you talking about? Girl, go get the cake, because we know that works. That will get you out of this moment. That's why we go like a robot, because it worked, and we're not in the place where we can trust that we can do something else. So it's habit work, it's emotions work, it's thoughts work, it's making sure the self-acceptance and compassion is there, because if you don't have that, you are not going to be able to support yourself in the way that you need to in order to do this work. So this piece of the nervous system is like the foundation. It's like, sometimes I'll refer to it like the 3 little pigs. The first little pig that builds his house with straw is like the little pig who goes to the juice fast. it's gonna be like, I'm gonna lose this weight in 10 days. I'm gonna throw this up. And of course, it all crumbles in no time. And the second little pig is like, okay, well, I'm gonna eat sensibly. I'm gonna, use my willpower to do these good things, not necessarily drastic, but gonna not do the work underneath, right? And so maybe they can do that for a little bit longer, but ultimately it's also going to be blown down pretty easily. And then the third little pig, who takes the time and makes the bricks and really gives themselves a solid foundation, is like the person who's willing to come in and do the nervous system work and give themselves, from that place where you're calm and alive, all the 5 pillars are doable. And so this is, the part that I love so much, that is what I've been able to bring to this field, and for which, people are having incredible results with by doing this, by giving themselves a foundational piece with their nervous system. The Freedom Program starts with 6 weeks of purely nervous system focus, so that you can see, gain knowledge around your own nervous system, and develop the tools that you need to stay in that place where you have a tremendous power. And with that power, that's when you achieve the 5 pillars in a way that is so much easier and possible. And I'd love to, Anna's here, and she has done some really, truly amazing work with respect to her own nervous system. And I don't know, I don't want to put you on the spot. You may be at a place, or just not able to, but if you had a sentence or two about your experience with the nervous system, and how that is a different journey because of your willingness and hard work with your nervous system, I would love to hear that. I think that would be really beneficial for the people who are tuning in and kind of wondering, what is that like? Does that really work? So again, I don't want to put you on the spot, because I know that you may be, needing to do other things, but if you have anything, I'd love to hear it.
Thanks. Now I do have construction work all around me, so you might hear all that drilling and stuff. So I have no control about that. In terms of the, it was just, I have to say that the focus, looking at the nervous system aspect, it's really, it's like this approach of looking at myself and experiencing myself, or understanding myself as a human being. And there, I'm a human being, and I have this body, and there's a biology, there's a chemistry that happens in it, there's a biology that happens in it. So it's not that I'm bad. It's not that I can't control myself. It's not that I'm terrible. It's this, there's something happening in this animal body of mine that gets triggered. And then there's like, all of this stuff. So the nervous system for me is a big one, because I, like when you were talking today, I have like this, I experience a lot of times like floating anxiety.
Yeah.
Just this underlying like triggered, and like it just happens. I have my beautiful calm moments as well, and I'm learning about that. But the nervous system is definitely something that is very active in me. It's gotten much calmer, and it just has made me understand the physiology of my experience. Like, it's put it like it taken it out of like moral judgment of, why can't you just get it together? Why are you allowing yourself to put on the weight? Blah, 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 blah. To like understanding, okay, so that's why, that makes sense. This is what I'm feeling. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then learning new ways to help my physiology. I hope that helps.
Absolutely. I love that. And I really appreciate you, offering that to us, because you're a real life example of how powerful this work is, and just harnessing our just ourselves. We have the power, everything you need for this, to overcome this challenge, and be, and the person that you know yourself to be is already inside you. I don't teach you that. I just help you remove some of the barriers, so that you have access to it in a way that allows you to stand in those moments that used to send you to food and be okay there, to feel safe and have that felt sense of safety and support in your body and for yourself. So that's, well, I'm so happy that you guys are here, and anybody that's watching, just, to the extent that you have questions and want to understand this better, let's there's definitely some additional YouTube videos that I've put out there on the nervous system. But I promised you every day I'd give you an integration piece, something that you could start to bring this information that I'm sharing each day into your life. With respect to the nervous system, the primary approach that I use with people is, of course, the education around it. So you can get to know your own nervous system, as you go through the day, kind of noticing, wow, I'm feeling it in that shutdown space a little bit, or I'm starting to move in that direction, or, oh, I'm starting to feel a little bit, a lot of, activation and maybe some stress. Like if I was in Anna's position and there was all that noise going on outside me, I would have to pay particular attention to my nervous system, because that would put me on high alert a little bit. So that would be something that I would have to pay attention to. And there are incredible tools that you can use once you develop that awareness and that have that gauge, where is my nervous system right now? Because as I start to move away from my calm aliveness, I want to be aware of that so that I can use the tools that help me shift back to that place of safety and support. And so the primary way that I do that, there's many ways, and I do touch on a lot of them, but the primary way I do that is with something called somatic experiencing. And it's beyond the scope of today because there's just, so much. And I know I'm not going to overwhelm you further by dumping a whole bunch of additional information. There is a YouTube video that I did on what is somatic experiencing. So that's something that you could look to for reference. Peter Levine is kind of the father of somatic experiencing. And so to any of you that have interest to kind of dive into that a little bit further, and I'd be happy to suggest resources and things. So just reach out if you want to dive into that world a little bit. But basically what it is it's working with your nervous system on a very deep level. And it's super experiential. So whenever I try to explain it, people always come back and they're like, I was listening and I was trying to understand it, but I really didn't get it until I did it for myself, because it's just such an individualized experience. But it is basically tuning in and doing some really, really simple activities and listening for the response of your nervous system, becoming, friends with your nervous system and understanding how different things register to your nervous system, because your nervous system is constantly picking up cues through all of your senses, through the way you're holding your body, through the experiences that you have. And it's registering and deciding, is this something that should move me this way or something that should move me that way? And so we're in that dance all day long, but we don't really realize it. So it's about, for each one of us, noticing what are the things. Like Anna may be sitting there in her space with all this noise and construction outside and have no effect on her at all. And if I was in that situation, I'd be like, I'd be getting, like kind of edgy and worked up a little bit. And if I didn't have the tools and resources that I have, I might just, find myself eating or snapping at people or just not being able to focus or whatever it is. And I wouldn't even know that it was because I have this trigger for my nervous system going on. But thankfully, I would know, and I'd be able to say, oh, that noise is having this effect. I can tell because I'm feeling a knot in my belly, or I'm feeling like I'm clenching, or I'm feeling sometimes my head feels floaty, if that makes sense. And so many of these things, it's hard to put them into words, but I'm just giving you some examples of how the work with the nervous system, what it looks like when you get to know your nervous system and the power that you have to continually bring yourself back to that place that is this beautiful, connected, safe, and supported place. So the integration piece that I have for you today, I just want to give you a really simple exercise that we're going to do together. And then I want to ask you if you would please try to do this maybe 4 or 5 times between today and when we meet tomorrow morning. More is great. Obviously, you can't do too much nervous system work. But if you could try to do this maybe 4 or 5 times and just start to see, because it's not the kind of thing that, bam, I tried that once, it didn't work, or, you're not going to have these amazing shifts after doing one day of a little bit of, somatic experiencing work. It does take time to build your practice. And we do that in the program. We take the first 6 weeks, and every day you're offered one of these exercises and build your practice and build your knowledge and your connection with your nervous system over that time. So today, what I want to give you is just something really simple that you can start to get a sense of what does it look like to support your nervous system in a way and really provide what you need to shift back into that optimal place. And so I invite you to just make sure that you're feeling comfortable in your seat. And then I want you to try to reconnect with your body a little bit by doing something called grounding, where you feel your feet flat on the floor. You feel the earth kind of pushing up and supporting you, so that it just provides a sense of connection with your body. Oh gosh, I was living, in my head. I was, so attuned to what was going on outside me. I kind of forgot I had a body, that kind of a feeling. So reconnecting with your body, using your feet and grounding as a way to just reconnect you. And then this exercise is just very simple. All of them are. I want to invite you to put either your left or your right hand, one of them on your heart. Whatever kind of pressure feels right, it can be a very light touch. It can be something a little bit more firm, whatever feels better. And just sit with it for a second and kind of notice. And when you're doing this on your own, go ahead and stretch this out if you have time. You don't have to, but if you have time, stretch it out and just tune in. Well, what happens when I do that? What happens when I touch lightly? What happens when I touch more firmly? I immediately have this loosening, because most of my nervous system is so much connected to my belly. So I'll get the tightness or clenching if it's really bad, what I describe as bats in my stomach. Some people might feel that floaty butterfly kind of thing when they're excited. When I am worked up or something like that, I have bats in my belly, and it's different for everybody, right? So what do you notice about, your hand on your heart? I know I'm talking, so you're not as in tune with your nervous system as you will be when you do this on your own. But I just want to show you kind of a method for connecting in. And then I would invite you to put the other hand, whatever, left or right, whatever felt better, on your belly, and just feel supported. I have, because I've done a lot of nervous system work, very quickly my nervous system responds to things like this. And so I just had a very, and also my brain gets a little calm. And so sometimes my sentences trail off and I'm like, what was I saying? Because I'm so relaxed. But I feel very much just a loosening. The tightness that was there wasn't bad or anything, but I do notice a real loosening and just a sense of well-being that kind of comes over me. That does not have to be your experience. This exercise could be something that you don't like, that makes your nervous system say, ooh, and I'm feeling more activated. We don't do the exercises necessarily for any particular result. We do them to gain access to our nervous system and to understand what's going on in there, and just be an active in communication and building a relationship. So this is the exercise. This is all you have to do. Again, maybe 4 or 5 times between today and tomorrow. If you can start to tune into your nervous system and notice, where am I on that spectrum? Am I feeling calm and alive? Am I feeling kind of disconnected? Am I feeling, some stress? And this is something that we spend some time on in the program, really getting to know the different states and on a regular basis, tuning in and listening. So doing this exercise 4 or 5 times between now and tomorrow morning, and then tomorrow morning you can bring kind of your experience and just start to notice like the things that I talked about today. Where do you notice them showing up in your life and in your experiences? And this will be very valuable information for you. So this is the integration work that I invite you to participate with, during the challenge. And these are all things, don't do them for one day, start to do these things and work them into your regular routines and things so that they can actually be helpful to you. So that's what I have for you as far as, lots of information. And I know that it was maybe, more than we were able to digest in this short period of time. So if you feel like it would be helpful, you can always watch the replay. I'll put that up here in a little bit. And, just starting to pay attention and using this exercise as a way to kind of wake you up with respect to the nervous system would be very valuable. I have just a couple of minutes before my next call, but I would love to just see if there are any comments or questions that I can answer for us before we wrap up today. Everybody feeling good? Yeah, that little exercise for me just kind of made me feel very peaceful, that sense of well-being. I love it. Again, that doesn't have to be your experience, but I love that it was mine. Okay. Well, thank you for spending time with me today, for allowing me to, bring this more out into the world, because it is so important, and it definitely feels very meaningful and fulfilling to me to be able to do that. So you guys make that possible by showing up here with me. Those guys of you here and on the replay, definitely be in touch as far as how things are sitting with you, what your experiences are. And I very much hope to see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to start diving into the solutions, those 5 pillars, and understanding a little bit better what that means to do the work on a day-to-day basis from the strong foundation of a nervous system that is living in calm aliveness. So I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate you all, and let me know what questions, comments, or support you may need. Okay. Have a great day.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Lori.
Bye-bye.
You. Okay. See you
Bye.
tomorrow.